Hello and welcome back to the Flight Ready podcast. I'm LoudGuns and I'm here with MasterBen.
Hi everyone.
So, in today's episode, episode 3, we are asking how real Star Citizen should be. Should it be more of a game or more of a sim? And I know that lots of people are on different ends of the spectrum and everywhere in between. I'm going to pass over to Ben to talk a bit more about this topic because it's one of the ones he brought up. He brings the good ideas to the table. So over to you, Ben.
Al brings the looks, I bring the ideas. Here we are, folks. The dream team is real. So, paint the picture. You're out in space, but suddenly you're being attacked. Can I fight back? No, because you need the space bathroom. Yes, my friends, how real does this game need to be before maybe we're going a bit too far? Maybe we're going to a stage where we should reel it in, and there are some things that are taking away from our enjoyment. That's not to say realism is a bad thing, but it's all about finding that balance. And I think today it'd be really interesting if we cover just a few areas of where Star Citizen has been making strides into things being more real, maybe then pulling them back a bit, and actually working out what's the good balance between having fun and actually, feeling like you're immersed in the environment, because you need to have that sense of feeling when you're playing a game. In reality, no one here, or maybe a few people are in giant flight sims and they're feeling very immersed. But for a lot of us, we need to actually feel as if we are playing more than just a game, but an experience. There
Exactly.
you go.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
I think that's where it comes to for me. I want immersion. Like, I absolutely do want immersion, and I find the Star Citizen experience at the moment to be highly immersive. But I kind of feel that in a lot of situations, your brain will fill in some of the blanks. So it doesn't need to be um, ultra, ultra realistic. I at the same time that I want immersion, I also want to be playing a game. And it's these two words are quite interesting to me: game and sim. They come up a lot in discussions around Star Citizen in general. I think probably a certain Mr. Roberts has something to answer for there because he has in various places called it both. Like he said, he wants to make the best damn space sim ever and the best damn space game ever. And to me, those two words are quite different things. So are you more of the sim camp or more in the game camp, Ben?
I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a weirdo about these things, because when I get into a big ship, my brain is like, I want a checklist. I want to be able to have to go through steps to get this ship going. You don't need it. You just need to press a button and the engines are on. Why would this super high tech ship need a checklist to get going? But you sort of that makes you feel more immersed in the game. However, when I've been playing for a few days with some friends, I just want to get going. I actually just want to, take off into the sky and just enjoy what I'm trying to do. So I'd say overall, deep down, I'd be more in the game camp.
Mhm.
But I like the idea of having optional parts of sim. So, for example, the checklist was something Elite Dangerous did very well, where you could turn it on. So you had to do this whole flight ready setup, or you could just press the fly button and you're off. How about you, Loud?
So I I guess I'm because I'm from more of an MMO background, and it was the MMO nature of Star Citizen which appealed to me. Um, I didn't necessarily come at it because I wasn't a big player of various other flight sims that existed, and except for crashing a lot in Windows Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Sim, whatever it was, 95, showing my age, or 98 maybe.
A
Aside from
classic.
that, I hadn't really. Every time I went near realism, it, it, it was quite realistic in that, I crashed the plane and nobody would be flying on LoudGuns Airlines. That is for sure. Um, One of the things which does worry me a bit about too much realism is scalability.
Yeah.
So because I want that MMO, I want lots of people in the same place doing things together with each other, against each other, whatever. there is that element of, the more and more fidelity that you put into it, the less likely that is. Like the most simmy sims don't tend to be massively multiplayer for that reason, because there's too many moving parts to keep track of. But that being said, I do think there is, like, going to your checklist sort of thing. I remember watching this fantastic video. I think it's a channel called the Warthog Project,
Yeah, yeah.
where the guy has built an amazing sim pit. But then, after watching the first half hour of this 1 hour video, the guy had done like the full sort of tour of his setup, and I was like, that's amazing. I was just imagining, like, could I go round to his house and fire up Star Citizen on that? But then he was like, now it's time to take this baby out for a spin. And I was like, yes, excellent, fly the plane. And then he literally pulled out his actual clipboard and started, it was, which I get why some people want,
Yeah, makes sense.
but like, I do not want my Star Citizen experience to be like, because it's time to me. It's a case of like, I mean, he spent the next 20 minutes doing his pre-flight checks, and then there was about 10 minutes of flying at the end of the video. We did a takeoff, a quick spin around the airfield, and a landing, and it was just like, I don't want to have to factor in 20 minutes of pre-flight checks to
Yeah.
my gaming experience. I don't want to be like, I can't go and do that tonight because I don't have 3.5 hours to play, allowing for pre-flight checks, cool downs, taking my drug tests to make sure I haven't been on the booze before I get behind the wheel, that sort of thing. So it's I draw the line on. I think gameplay should always come above realism.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
is my is my baseline. Um, but that being said, I think there are aspects of Star Citizen which are realistic and aspects which aren't. That both are really good, and some which needs improvement, to use the language of my formerly a teacher mother. And are there any particular areas which just jump to your mind in that
So
regard?
So I think the first regard would definitely be around the current and projected aerodynamics for the game. We saw during CitizenCon this discussion of uh, having full proper aerodynamic system and sort of ailerons, elevators, everything for every spaceship. So when it flies into atmosphere, it's a totally different ship. At the start, you think this could be a really, really cool idea. And then as time goes on, I have this vision of everyone learning how to not stall an Argo raft as they come into atmosphere, and part of me just starts to panic ever so slightly. Could be really cool. Could be really cool. And actually, if you look at the Polaris as an example right now in game, where we have the very much the guided system of this is how you fly, this is where you're going to go with sort of a capital class. What do you call it? As like a trajectory arc, I
Mhm.
suppose. Could be a really good idea. But do you suddenly create this game where actually, if you're just a player who goes into an atmosphere and maybe gets into a fight or needs to get down quickly, are you going to struggle so much that the more uh, trained people are far superior to you? And while you could argue that's part of the game, actually, progressing your skill to a point where you can fight in these areas. I think it needs to be a certain barrier to entry, but it can't be so high but actually most people wouldn't be able to get in and just have fun.
Mhm.
And I suppose, the ones this will hit the most are cargo ships, because cargo ships will have the most bulk. And if we just look at them, the least amount of plausible space for actually, putting on any sort of aerodynamics, or it could just be additional thrusters to move around. Cargo ships also have to deal with the issue or the time sink, should we say, that is box loading. And that's an area where I think it's been very divisive. I remember when that came in, a lot of people were either very livid at the fact they now have to spend substantially more time loading their ships. But on the other hand, it created a level of fun because now you have this whole idea of, oh, actually, you can fill the ship however you want. If we look at how that's implemented right now, it has the huge issue of you can't always get the right size boxes for your ship. So
Hmm.
your potential cargo space is always substantially lower. So in this sort of scenario, we now suddenly have cargo ships which are going to be struggling to get around the place, and then meanwhile being massively knocked on the head by just the fact that they're spending so long to load and unload boxes. Has the enjoyment started to run out in this scenario, or actually is this what everyone wants? Does everyone want to do one cargo run an evening, and maybe I'm thinking of other games where you're bouncing back and forth a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, getting stuck into the gameplay that
Yeah,
you actually want to do. That being said, I do think sort of certain when it comes to a lot of the stuff which is really manual, I think there should be an element of opt out
yeah,
to it. So I can and it is meant to be that way as well in terms of there's meant to be automated unloading. I think there should also be automated loading in terms of and more nuanced, right? Like so you should still be able to say I want you should have some sort of hollow view of your cargo grid and then be able to say, well, this box here,
yeah,
rearrange it however you wish. But then you should just pay time. And arguably, I actually think the time should be set higher up than what somebody could achieve if they were manually doing the thing.
yeah, yeah,
So let's just say, for the sake of easy maths, that I have to take 50. I can take 15 minutes to load a ship myself with my crew. We've got it down, and our fastest time is like 15 minutes to load. Then I think the auto load should be about 25 minutes. It should punish the person who doesn't take the manual route. Like the manual route with extra effort should always be better, potentially faster, or give you some sort of buff. But then you don't have to do it, but you do just have to wait. But I don't think that should take away things like with cargo. It shouldn't take away things like being able to pick where your boxes go. Just on the flight thing though, on the aerodynamics, I think maybe there's an element there that should like cargo ships to me should just have massive VTOL to keep them aloft, and same with mining ships. Like I think like the Mole is a pretty good example. Really blocky. You aren't gonna fit any light surfaces on that thing that are gonna make a blind bit of difference. So just give it massive VTOL thrusters. But then it's a brick. And I kind of think big industrial ships should be bricks. Like they shouldn't fly well, but also maybe they shouldn't be hard to fly.
yeah.
Whereas the parallel I always think of is with surfing. So when you start out surfing, you surf a thing called a foamy, and it's a foam centered surfboard. So it's like made of really light wood. It's really big. It's really fat, and then that makes it super easy to catch a wave and learn to stand up on the surfboard. But like all you can do on a foamy is just go in a straight line. It's
That's the
it's
best bit.
it's just there to get you to stand up, catch a wave, get back out, and you have to like carry the thing out like a pizza box, like under
I
your
think
arm.
that is the extent of my surfing. Actually, is
Yeah,
exactly that.
but then like when you get to a high level, you're using a shortboard, and it's really unforgiving. It's like it's got barely any buoyancy, so you have to work. But when you get to the bottom of a big wave, you will be able to actually turn it and avoid going into the drink. So it's like I do sort of think that with like the fighters and the high end ships, they should like reward players with high skill. If you're flying something like a Gladius or an Arrow, it should have that great aerodynamic qualities that then create a very high skill ceiling. But I think if you're flying an Aurora, it should be the foamy. Like
Yeah.
it should. Yep, it's not going to punish you. It's not going to stall, but it's also going to turn like absolute crap in atmosphere, and you haven't got a lot of control surfaces and stuff, so you can't really do too much about that. Like, but just so you don't overwhelm new players with really tricky to master flight mechanics.
It would be nigh on comical, wouldn't it? Sort of if they made the Aurora not just impossible to fly, and everyone's coming out. Oh, I'm brand new to the game. Welcome to the free fly. You take off into the sky and straight down. It's
Yeah,
like, did you have fun? $20 for an Avenger, and
yeah.
then you can leave the planet.
Or learn this like learn how to use every flap on your
Yeah.
Aurora to like generate enough lift to escape Lawville. Otherwise, back to Lawville you go. You live there now. And
Yeah.
this
That
is,
actually could be a great way to get people working in the mines of Lawville, just make it impossible to take off, call it a day.
or getting people to pay for passenger transport. I can't work out how to get off this planet. I'll pay you 50k. Just
Yeah, yeah.
get me up to Everest Harbor, please.
And so many people thought the Liberator would never have a use, and suddenly it's now the best pickup truck in the verse.
Some areas though where I think Star Citizen could do with more realism, not not total realism, but just more. Um, so I like mining where it's at the moment for the ships that we have, but like I want to see expansions of that. Like I want to see massive asteroids that you can't just crack with lasers, so you need to strap explosives to them or like drill explosives down into them to crack them enough. But the industrial loop which really like screams out to me is Salvage.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've played a game hardship, oh, hardship shipbreaker, something like that.
No.
It's in my Steam library, and if I could look across, I would. But it's basically just the it's Salvage, and that's all it is
Okay,
as a
right.
game. And you are I think the backstory is actually pretty great. It's like you are some sort of indentured worker at a space station where they just bring in wrecks, like derelict wrecks, which you have to crack apart to work off a horrendous debt that you have.
Okay,
So
right.
so it just like progressively sends you like harder, more complex ships to break apart. But that's like when you play that game and then you go back to playing Star Citizen Salvage, it makes it feel like underdeveloped is the
Yeah.
best thing. It's like you're sort of thinking about using different tools. You're thinking about what shapes you might need to cut pieces of the hull into. You're thinking about like cutting into the hull to like remove fuel before you just chomp it. Because like, and I think that's sort of the problem with Salvage at the moment. On one hand, it's not realistic enough, but the follow on from that is it's not complex enough. It's not
Yeah.
challenging enough. So that lack of challenge then makes it quite dull, which can be great if you just want to go into the Halo and listen to an audiobook and laser go burr, I get richer. You know that's great, but like if what you're after is a challenging, engaging gameplay experience, then to me things need to be up that complexity curve, which often is up the realism curve as well. But
Yeah,
that's
I mean, it's a really true point actually, because when I first got into Star Citizen, I actually had very small intentions in regards to combat and PvP, because I'd come from games where the industry loops were much more complex and fleshed out. And yes, I know games in development, T0, Norvis implementation, but it personally didn't grip me for that long for that exact reason that as soon as you've mastered, this is more Salvage, obviously. Still never done mining, but well, as soon as you've mastered sort of,
Episode 100 of Flight Ready. We're gonna
I
just
think I did
we're gonna
promise.
just do
Yeah.
it from like a mole.
Yeah,
No.
okay, fair enough, fair enough. We hit 100. See you guys in 2029.
Well,
We'll be
we should
at
put a
100.
sub target on it. There we go. Like 2,000 subs, and we'll get Ben and the mole.
Okay, the whole stream will be mining in the background. That sounds good. You can see how terrible that goes. But what have I agreed to now? My whole reputation is down the drain for combat. um, the whole problem is, yeah, you once you know to point and click and wait till the laser finishes going burr, then you just make everything disintegrate, and that's it. And I appreciate CIG at the time said that was never their intention, just to basically absorb all the particles and that the engine couldn't actually do what they wanted to do. I think they said they're going to revisit this and do it hopefully more properly. The Orion relies on it with its giant grinders at the front. But yeah, it's just not. It's way too gamey. It's way too gamey. Anyone can right click, left click, money's in the back, and that's something that as soon as you get to a new patch, what's the first thing most people go and do? Mining and salvaging, because it's pretty much for sure guaranteed money with very little overheads or costs, at least for getting in. Obviously, if you want to go, well, you want to get the better materials, you need to upgrade your equipment. Actually, in reality, salvaging barely needs any upgrades at all, to be honest. As long as you've got the contract or you found a dead ship, which there are one or two in Pyro available, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And you've sort of hit the end of the game loop already. Now, something I was very keen to ask you on is, do you think there needs to be some kind of semi-artificial barriers to stop that progression from effectively zero to hero? That I've bought a vulture, I can go do everything. Should there be, I don't know, locked components to make those bits come in later? I appreciate I'm getting off topic here a little bit.
No. I do think sort of and this is where it's okay that it's gamification, because it is a game.
Yeah.
Like locking. So there's one upgrade I would do to a vulture, which is to buy the second abrade for it. But like, I can walk into any shop and I can buy that. But not any shop, but the shop. And
It's in the
they
clothing aisle.
don't sell those at the FPS shops. But yeah, could go and buy my second abrade, and there we go. We're good to go. I do think that elements of reputation, getting access to better recs, for example, but also, you can lock various components behind certain things. That definitely adds to it. And component salvage, I think, is sort of a big thing, sort of components and cargo. Because I think then what you can get is good mission loops, where it's maybe like the Salvage Guild give you a mission, but then there's a bonus if you bring them back certain components or certain cargo. So they might sort of say, go out, here's some coordinates of a wreck, you maybe have to pay your fee, or maybe you don't, but we want for mission completion, you need to come back with the QT drive, 2 of the guns. We've promised those to one of our clients.
We love them.
Like we love those. So, or there is some special cargo on board the ship which somebody has paid them to recover. So you can add that in, and if you then make that dependent on your progression with that faction, and then through that faction's reputation you unlock new components which make your vulture better, or you gain access to blueprints for upgraded parts. Yeah. That's good gamification in terms of creating a good grind. Yeah, it's like I go, I do the gameplay I like, and I come back and I get better stuff, I get access to better missions. However, the key part there is the gameplay I like. Like, the gameplay can't be dull.
Yeah.
So it can't just be like, go scrape 12 SCU of RMC. Next mission, go scrape 20 SCU of RMC. Next mission, 100, etc.,
But
etc., etc. It's particularly if that scraping is not like thrilling.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
want the challenge to scale up as well as the rewards.
What if we had some really exciting flavor text telling you Hurston will the machines will run dry if you don't mind. 2 SCU of scrap. There's nowhere
Save,
else that can
save
find it.
Hurston.
Yeah. You heard of Save Stanton. Now, just Hurston. Yeah, they've run out of water. Please help.
And also, like danger is like another key realism factor, I think, and
Getting real now.
it would be a great one to add to Salvage, in my opinion. You know, when you take those contracts of derelicts, like when they first brought in Salvage, or they first
They
started
were
talking about
amazing.
Salvage, I was thinking to myself like, oh, excellent. Imagine if 1 in 10 of these is a pirate trap. And I scan it, there's good cargo on board, but if I don't let the scan run all the way, I don't see the life forms on board. I open the door, I sort of go inside, and then all of a sudden some Ninetales guys are shooting at me.
Yeah.
And that would just sort of add like that, because then the 9 that those bad guys aren't on, you're still going in with your gun.
Yeah.
Thinking like, this might happen, I've got to
Yeah.
clear this ship, I've got to make sure it's safe. Like, but I think as the game evolves, I think these things can get developed and fleshed out more as mechanics. And I think this is sort of an area where it could be positive to be like, let's think about like, what if this was real? What would the dangers be? What would the hazards be? What would the challenges be? And work out a way to gamify those in a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And as we get closer to having some form of well, all the fire extinguishers are in now. Apparently, we just
Huh.
need some fire to put them out with. But you could very easily see, well, if you're not going to sort of go through a set process of actually taking apart this ship, it's just going to set on fire. And any, as exactly you said earlier, if there's a black box inside, or if there's a the CEO's pets in there, you've
Yeah.
got to get them out before you salvage it. It's like, well, you've failed this mission, buddy.
Oh, the
There's a lot
turtles.
of like yeah, all the Pico. Oh, his favorite Pico is there. You can suddenly have so much fun with it. It feels like we are actually quite close to having the tech where you could introduce those sort of levels of additional fun. And exactly said earlier as well, we could just avoid that if you don't really care about the subplot or the side quest. Just salvage the whole thing, just integrate it, call it a day, head home, take your money. It
Yeah.
hasn't affected any of the day one game loops, but it's meant that people who want to be a bit more simmy or just take the extra level of like gameplay can do it if they want to. And I mean, the amount of different factions we saw at CitizenCon, like if those rep grinds actually have a meaningful end game, then it's great. Then suddenly you actually have a really good reason to getting involved.
And I do think as well it's reasons to bring a crew.
Yeah,
Always
yeah.
always for me it always comes back to like, how can they drive multiplayer? I don't think it's by introducing bugs where everybody gets paid the same for a mission. Sorry.
That worked so well.
but I think instead sort of it's creating layers of missions which then are way better to do as a crew. Not just better because it's fun. Because I will happily do multi-crew stuff just because it's fun. But better because it's like, this works better if there's 2 of us, 3
Yeah.
of us, 5 of us. If we're looking to, I had a lot of fun when they first introduced salvage missions, because me and Lion's Mane went out and we fully stripped everything off a hammerhead. We took every gun,
Nice.
shoved every gun off a hammerhead into a cutlass, and it looked ridiculous.
There goes your evening. Yeah.
But like we took every gun. It would be even better if we could take every component inside. Maybe if some of those don't come out so well, so you have to like cut them out, that would be. But then you send different teams off to do different different things, because at the same time that they're doing that, some other people can be stripping the outside of the ship. And yeah, if you could, I think, and this is just a point which comes to me with the stuff we saw at CitizenCon around shipbuilding. That might be one of your incentives to approach these missions like that. Because, like, the MAT's RMC, so RMC is the stuff that super strong ship hulls are made of, like outer coatings are made of.
Yeah.
Construction mats are undoubtedly going to be an ingredient of large quantity in any ship that you go build. But then, if you're building a ship, you're going to need all the other little bits. And so, if the purpose of your salvage operation is just to make money, you might min-max whatever strat works to make the most credits.
Like everything, yeah.
But, like, if your end goal is to build yourself a ship, then all of a sudden that drives, like, take the guns, take the components, take, particularly if they could bring in more, like, yeah, it takes more time to get to some of the harder resources, but you will need those to build your own ship. So it just rewards more in-depth loops.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and that could be a really interesting way to actually develop it in the future. How far in do they go to shipbuilding where you can almost pick the bits you bring? So actually, you're dead right. Then yeah, you want to focus on that. And hopefully, it's not just some giant pool of you've got. Well, they speak about grade, so surely there has to be a level of I know I'm bringing these 10 high grade materials to go into my ship, which could be quite good to see in the future. So with the introduction of 1.0, 1.0, geez, no, whoa, whoa, 4.0. Sorry, yeah. You're watching this podcast from the future, everyone.
Yeah. We're in the
Yeah.
future. You're in the past.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's amazing. We got Nick's and twin
Tonight's
assistants.
lottery numbers are. Yeah.
We can't tell them they're ours. Come on. Uh, so one of the big changes with 4.0 is just scale, and we saw CIG buffing a lot of fuel tanks coming up to 4.0, so that basically every ship could go from one side of Stanton to almost one side of Pyro. There's a few ships that can't do the full jump, but pretty much everything can. How fun is that? How gamey is that compared to how sim related is that? I know back in the day we had this idea that some ships will be too big, some ships will be too small to go through some jump points. Some ships won't even have jump drives initially. I mean, if you still don't, but we're talking like a Fury, which
Like
is a snub.
snubs,
So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Is that should always be the way. I'm in two total different minds of this because whenever I get into the game and I just want to go somewhere, the last thing I want to do is start thinking about, oh, I've got to stop for fuel here and there, and add so much time, add probably like 5-6 minutes, to stop and get fuel. But at the same time, as this game continues to expand, I feel like we need some time sinks ignoring bugs. We need some time sinks to actually mean you can't just jump anywhere you want immediately without actually having to plan your routes a bit more
Yeah.
carefully. Right now, there's no point to big ships really if you just go from A to B as long as you've got a giant fuel tank like a cutter.
Yeah. And I hope I hope overall that Star Citizen gets a lot of quality of life improvement. But I actually hope that some of the quality of life stuff that we have now, like what you're describing with ship fuel tanks, I hope it's just, CIG wanting us to test the game and therefore respecting our time in that sort of thing. They're thinking like we don't need their ability to jump tested. We need their ability to do the missions, be in the same places. We want more players on to be testing this stuff. So I really hope things like all ships being able to make that massive jump are just temporary.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I do think is that it's an MMO without official classes. So the ships kind of are classes. That makes sense. So I'm just gonna pick on because I love the freelancers. It's a little bit of They're my guilty pleasure as ships.
All the
Like,
texture.
but I love the variants. So I love that you've got the Max. The Max is like still one of my favorite cargo haulers. But like, what is the point of the Dur if every other freelancer can make the full jump across Pyro?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what's the point of the Carrack if I can go everywhere a Carrack can go in a Polaris? I might as well go in a Polaris.
Yeah.
It's a punchier ship. I'd rather turn up and find the thing I'm finding and have size whatever torpedoes at my disposal than so there has to be to make exploration ships serve their actual purpose. Some ships have to be able to do these jumps while others can't. And I kind of even liked it in Stanton with the whole like a light fighter couldn't just zip between Area 18 and New Babbage.
Yeah.
You had to go through the pain of Lagrange point stops because that then encouraged you to beg a ride. Yeah, and I know what they're saying with the whole like they don't like the whole ship claiming, however many percent of ships were claimed weren't destroyed. But I think scale it up into a later version of the game. I want to see this sort of gameplay where it's like, right, I only own a light fighter, and I've achieved the next level of rep. That's unlocked missions in the next system. I want to go there, but I am a Gladius.
Get
Okay,
on.
I'm going to ask somebody who owns a Liberator or a Kraken. There's going to be somebody out there who is like operating the ship ferry service, and I'm going to get them to move my ship, and then maybe you also like add the option like they had an Elite Dangerous for like ship delivery at a fee. So then you're catching like a passenger ship to go those longer distances. Because I do feel that you've got this massive game with massive gameplay area, but if you make every ship able to just zip across it in a few minutes, it's a small game.
You never see any of it, do you?
It's,
Yeah.
it just feels small, regardless of how big it is. So in order for it to feel big, I do think you have to have this sort of sense of scale. And if that enforces a bit of pain on a bit of a reduction in quality of life on people who are just like, wow, I've got my Gladius and I don't want to ever talk to anyone. And it's a bit annoying that I have to make 18 fuel stops to get across Pyro. Well, tough. MMO.
That's life. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. And I think it would massively help with the balancing of fighters as well. As actually said, talking about classes, usually we'll ignore a few ships when they first get introduced into the game. The heavy fighters are worse than the medium fighter, and medium fighters are worse than a light fighter. Now, I'm more for that turns terribly out of context. I'm more thinking when it's one fighter versus another. In a 1v1 scenario, a light fighter of similar skill should always be a heavy fighter,
mhm,
assuming no multi crew and all of that jazz. So when you have this environment where you know all size one jump drives are now the same effectively, minus a bit of fuel efficiency, you're dead right. There's no purpose to ever going to the heavy fighters with possibly the size two drives, which used to have the benefit also of much larger fuel tanks, when your smaller ship can still get there, a similar speed.
mhm.
And especially with the Polaris now being here and the Carrack being here for a while, although I think its hangar is so limited, it's sort of borderline comical when you have the Polaris in the game now.
Yeah.
We could definitely be getting to a point soon when a few more issues have been sorted where you could start to bring that back down and actually go, look, you're going to need to stop in some areas
Mhm.
because Pyro is incredibly beautiful, and actually forcing you down to the planet side fuel stations are just so cool. I was doing a stream where I went to a few of them, and you just don't realize how good looking this place is because you're trying to do a elite target mission where you never need to go to the planet anyway. So
Yeah,
why would you waste 20 minutes to do it? So yeah, there definitely just needs to be a level of forcing you to go see something almost. And also that creates more chance for piracy and more chance for Starfarer players to have their game loop.
yeah,
Everyone wins.
yeah. I think there's that element as well of like making it is the immersion factor. It's like making it feel like a journey that you have to put some planning, put some preparation into. I used to play this game Atlas. It was sort of pirate ships. So I bang on about it a lot because I had a good time, but then it died. But some of the time it made you take like really long sailing journeys. Like it was my one of my favorite moments was me and my friends deciding to sail for like 4 hours to go and find a new home. But it was like we were having to plot our journey because we had to plot our way around like really hostile territory where we knew we were just gonna get murked. We had loads of stuff on board, so we were like concerned the whole way. We ran into things like storms, enemy ships and stuff. But like that doesn't happen. So like that got turned into like an entire day of really enjoyable but also on the edge of your seat gaming. But it was just a journey. It was just going from A to B.
Yeah.
And yeah, the game needs to allow for that to happen. But like some of the realistic parts of journeying can be left out.
Put your
Like
seatbelt on.
connecting flights which don't add up, so you end up waiting at an airport for 9 hours. No thanks. Like there's
Got a
only so
layover in
much
ruin
duty
station.
free I can consume. So yeah, it's like they don't need to. I feel they need to take a step back. Don't want to go full realism. Don't want to get sold scratch cards on the on the passenger flight. But yeah, they need to leave enough of it in there, I think, to give you this sense of scale in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
And I
that's what
think
makes you
also one
invest in the game. Like
exactly.
not not
Yeah.
not hand your dollars over into the pledge store, but like, be invested in your character, in your experience.
CIG, buy high, sell low. Yeah, but Gio, also, I think my favorite addition in 4.0, Pyro's great. Pyro, it's beautiful, it's lovely, lots of cool missions there. The music in Quantum is
Hmm.
like the most immersive thing. And it's the fact that it sort of spools up a different track when you're approaching a planet and go down there. Give me a reason to go down to these planets and go to different biomes. They just sound so amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I,
So yeah,
I, I'm.
minor tangent.
I'll be honest. I'm one of those people with like music is pretty way down. I have left it up this patch because the pyro music is. I don't know.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. But there's a Viva La Dirt League video which they put out recently, which is about music and games, and it's pretty much how I feel about it. So
Right.
go
Okay.
and watch that if you haven't already.
Yeah. The full context of why you shouldn't listen to music. No, fair enough. I love music in games from World of Tanks, where every map has a different theme tune, and depending how the battle's going, there's different songs. For me, music in a game is just everything. So yeah, I'll keep it on and deafen myself with it
You can tell me on
yeah,
the cool bits, and I'll set up some sort of macro.
yeah,
Flick it on,
give
flick
you
it
a call.
off.
Now turn on the music. This is amazing.
One of the areas of gameplay which like I, I guess like on the one hand I'm excited for, on the other hand I have a huge amount of trepidation,
Oh god.
absolutely huge, is engineering. And I
Yeah.
think into a how real should Star Citizen be podcast with engineering on the not too distant horizon. I think it's probably one to bring up. So it's this potentially very core loop that like just I can see how it could be amazing, but I could also
Mhm.
see how it could be executed so poorly that it becomes another like uh, let me know when Star Citizen's good. Sort
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
like, sort of thing.
I'll wait till they remove that bit again. It's item kiosk 2.0. Give me a call when that's gone, and then I'll log back into the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is engineering something you're looking forward to, or are you in my high levels of trepidation camp as well?
So, when they show off the cool video in EA2 of you can control the doors, you can lock down the areas, you can purge the tanks of all this amazing stuff, I'm like, I'm all in. This is great. This is a reason for multi-crew and big ships. It's just going to be so fun, and there's also so many different like role-playing aspects you can do in there, like opening your doors. You could basically recreate half of Star Wars and the walking through doors pretty much. But and most people haven't done this to me, so I'm going to really regret saying this on a podcast. If you pull out any fuse in the ship, it shuts down, right?
Yeah.
If that's how they're going to do engineer, if that's really the intention of engineering, this is just waiting to fall apart. Piracy turns into get on a ship, pull out one fuse, and then wait till they panic to find where is that fuse on this, 200-meter long ship or whatever. It could be really cool. It could be really cool. But two things I don't like, as I just said, the fuses and this idea of components just degrading and starting to fail by themselves. That's fine as long as it's not every 10 minutes. I don't want to log on and just go do some cargo hauling or just go do some moving cargo, move my own equipment around the verse and suddenly find that, oh, my left engine is just flamed out or something. Oh, sorry, your guns have jammed here because you haven't been maintaining them properly. It gets to the point where you think actually you just need to be able to log on and enjoy the game without having to constantly panic about having 25 spare fuses in your back pocket all the time. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm quietly excited but also terrified every time I actually look at what they could be doing.
Yeah. I think the potential, particularly, it's something which we haven't seen any real evidence of yet, but we've heard a lot of good talk on. Is the idea of time to kill being higher,
Yes.
particularly for capital, like larger and capital ships. Now, if and I again, like, I'm just not convinced, because I listened back recently to that episode that John Crew and Richard Tyra did, where they were talking about the future of ship combat, and
Okay, yeah.
it was very good. But I think it was funny. Just the other day, some friends and I were having a discussion, and that age-old thing came up of the game is played the way that the last game, I'll get this right. The
Here we
last
go.
day that a game is played as the developers intended is the day before it's released.
Yeah.
Because the moment you let us on it, gamers will crowdsource the best way to do something, and more often than not, it's something the developer just never even saw coming.
Hmm.
And listening to John Crew and Rich Tyra talk, I was just like, you do know about this, right? Like you're in the industry, you gotta know about this,
Yeah.
because they're talking about how like capital ship combat should be problem solving, working like
On LinkedIn.
on the fly sort of hollow views are wearing their shields weak, and I'm like, there will be a YouTube video within 24 hours of you putting the javelin into the game.
Yeah.
Quickest way to kill a javelin. Kill javelin in 1 minute and 36 seconds. Do this, 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 and this. Target this array, this array. This array is weak. This one will take down the shields. Slip a size 11 torpedo in through that hole. Like, boom. Like, if so I'm not convinced they're going to get it right immediately, but if they can push up time to kill, then I think on the fly, all hands to stations, running around a cap ship, fixing it up, having and if you're on that scale that you've got a big enough crew anyway, that it's not going to hurt that you lose a turret gunner,
Yeah.
then fantastic. That will be amazing if it can happen. and maybe with like Maelstrom and all that sort of stuff, then it can. What I don't really want to see is like, somebody who just wants to take their cutlass out for a spin because they didn't do. We're back to the clipboard because they didn't do the 20 minutes of pre-flight checks. The engines fall off. Like,
Didn't screw it in, mate. You hadn't screwed it in 10
yeah.
flights. It's fallen out.
Instead, I think generally games should reward more than they punish. So I kind of feel like if you never take care of your ship, yeah, you should eventually get debuffed, wear and tear, until the point that those engines might fall off. If like, you haven't done any maintenance in like the last 100 times you flew it. Like,
Yeah.
you are the proper old banger of cutlasses. But like, I also think that repairing to 100% via ship services at any major spaceport or space station should be a thing. It should just be like, right, I open my Moby Glass before I get my ship out, or maybe it's in the ASOP terminal. Perform standard maintenance, 10,000 credits, sure, there you go, and then that's your ship back to 100%. But
Should
then
it take time?
maybe a bit of time, but maybe then it's just like a little bit of something you can plan around, right? So you don't do it as you're pulling your ship out. You do it as you put your ship away.
Okay, yeah.
You log off for the night, you park your cutlass, you put it back into the space station. Right, while I sleep, can the maintenance guys take a look over this and get it to 100% again?
Hmm.
But then I think players who are really into the engineering loop should be able to do manual stuff, which takes it to 110. Like, and rewards them for that gameplay. While players who don't want anything to do with it, as long as they engage a little bit enough to click a few buttons, don't get punished by engineering loops. That would be my
It's
biggest ask.
I definitely see what you mean. Part of me, I do agree. There should always be a repair all button, a refuel all button. Everything. Just like if you really don't care about doing the smaller loops, it's all done for you. When with engineering coming in and different levels of material quality, it definitely starts to make me wonder: can everywhere repair everything, or does this now start giving you an advantage to, if I engineer, sorry, not engineering, if I build a really good ship, can I just take it anywhere and get it repaired for the same price if it's like grade A compared to like grade
Mhm.
D? Or at some point, should you have will bring you up to 80% or 90% of your qualities option? Maybe say like C will be average. So we'll do 100% of a C, or we'll do like 90% of a B, or something along that line. So actually, if you have a better quality ship, you're going to have to get it engineered to bring it back to 100%. So anyone who
Yeah.
just has default ship, you're fine. If you min max yours, there could be some more money coming your way here to actually get it sorted.
Yeah, I mean, like I've recently been playing Ark, like Ark Survival Ascended. Um, I had a neck injury, and playing Star Citizen wasn't. I've only just realised how much you like look around the screen when
Yeah,
you play
yeah.
SC, and when your neck is just screwed, it's not actually that great a game to be playing. But I was back playing some Ark, and they do it in quite an interesting way. So just taking like a cloth shirt as an example, like costs like 20 fiber to make. So you use the cloth shirt, you get attacked by a raptor, it breaks your cloth shirt. It then costs half of those resources to repair. So 10
Right.
fiber. But then if you found like a Mastercraft cloth shirt, or you made one, that would cost 1,000 fiber to make. And therefore, when that breaks, even though it's way more durable, takes a lot more raptor bites. When that breaks, it costs you 500 fiber to repair. So I do think there should be that scaling. of like you've got like really rare components. You know, they're going to cost more of the same resources that you use to make them. Because I think that does gate people a little bit, or it creates a sink. It's not just then like, I've got the best thing. I have always got the best thing. And, therefore, like, it doesn't cost, it's ridiculous. It would be ridiculous if it cost the same to repair a Lamborghini as to repair a Mazda. Like,
you just bring your Lamborghini to like your Fiat dealership.
you-
One, please. Yeah, just one service, if
yeah.
you will.
I'm just imagining a wonderful world because I just got a bill from a garage. I'm imagining a wonderful world where mechanics were just like, yes, it is £100 for any car with any issue.
Car.
Busted engine, £100. Wheel change, £100.
It's all just a flat fee. That'd be an
Yeah.
incredible world. I do have one quite important question. How many bites can a fancy raptor take compared to a normal one? Because a normal one, I think, is one, right? How many can a fancy take?
So it all scales. So again, this is
Okay.
sort of scaling, and I think that's that should be the same thing with. I really hope, and based on the presentations that they did at CitizenCon, they've clearly got a lot of people who have played survival games, and like as a genre, the survival game genre is very well developed now. And it's a lot of the ideas have been done, a lot of the stuff has been worked out, and I'm happy to see that they're being quite un-CIG about it, and they're not completely reinventing the wheel when it comes to when you sort of looked at some of the recipes and things. I liked some of the little tweaks they made, like go and shoot enough people with this gun to do the research to make it even better.
Yeah, that's
really cool. That's a great idea. But like, I like that sort of from the recipe perspective, they seem to just be, what all the survival games do, that seems to make sense. So so it scales up. So your crafted item, your higher quality item is better. Your guns shoot more guns. Yeah, you'd have a durability stat as well. So it'd be even like this will be longer between needing repair. It's better quality. But that should sort of be reflected then in the costs of repairing it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really true. You still didn't actually answer how many raptor bites a fancy T-shirt can take, but it's fine. You clearly
Something
you
like
defend
25. Let's just go with 25. You wouldn't know.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
Yeah. Having watched the rewatched the original Jurassic Park recently as well, I know that it's like basic cloth shirt, one raptor bite. Fancy cloth shirt, one raptor bite.
But a little porta cabin bathroom, no T-Rex bites. Just that thing just blows over in the wind, mate. That's gone.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think we have come to a pretty beautiful conclusion that Star Citizen is a massive simulator. There should be a checklist for going to the loo, and trams no longer go to where you need to go unless you pay real money.
Exactly.
That's everyone who skipped to the end for the conclusion is going to be very lost now.
They're going to be like, what on earth did they spend an hour talking about?
But all this means is they now need to watch the whole episode and the two secret bits we had in episode 1 and 2, right?
Exactly. Let us know what those Easter eggs are down in the comments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so Loud, if people have loved this and gone, I must listen to more of you, where can they find you?
So I am at LoudGuns on YouTube and also over on Twitch. I think I'll put some things up around our faces, Ben, as well. So
Wow.
Yep. And yourself?
At MasterBen10 on Twitch and YouTube. I forgot what the other one was called for a brief moment because I'm so active there.
Yeah, and I will be back to making videos very shortly. I've got one in the cooker, so it's just been a month of unintended vacation. But I would like to say a big thank you to everybody who has reached out and pinged me a message in the meantime. So I'm just hitting that age where you don't just go, I'm back, and then 2 days later you're fine. That's what I've discovered. It's the sad realities. So, but speaking of the comments, though, we would absolutely love to hear your views on this. And I think what we will probably see is the full range of
Yeah, I suspect
people
so.
who want more realism, people who want less. Um, as long as you're respectful to each other, be nice, but debate away. Because I think it's one of the things which always gets me about Star Citizen. Like, it's a game in development. It's a game in development where the developers actually listen to the fans. So
Hugely.
so keep in mind that like your exact opinion might not be the one they go with, but through all the various forums, Spectrum, but also even sort of developers watch things like YouTube videos. So even down in the comments of YouTube videos, feel free to put what you think. If nothing else, it's entertaining to debate these things, isn't it, Ben?
Exactly. It really is. And as actually said, it's so great when you hear other people's opinions. There's always that one or two people who like every day, daily drive a car to out. And like, no, we need full flight models for everything because this has got to make sense. And it's like, this is great. It's just, yeah, we did not have enough time to play the whole game, play every single tiny ship. So it's great when you hear these people. Yeah.
Right, well, thank you everybody very much for watching. If you're not, then we'd really love it if you hit subscribe and like the video and shared it with your grandma. It's been really, really both Ben and I have been very happy to see the reception that these podcasts have got. We're really enjoying making them, so please do show the channel a little bit of love. And with all that said, that's all from me, and thank you very much.
Catch you in the next one.